family members, veterans, to our annual Flag Day. Please stand and unite in singing the Star Spangled Banner presented to us by Kirsten Kaufman.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red, the bells bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Members and guests, the purpose of this service is to honor our country's flag, to celebrate the anniversary of its birth, and to recall the achievements attained beneath its folds. It is quite appropriate that a service such as this be held by the Order of Elks, an organization that is distinctly American, intensely patriotic, and without counterpart. Esteemed leading knight, what are the fraternal aims of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks?
To inculcate the principles of charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity, to promote the welfare and happiness of mankind, to uphold our country and its laws, and to quicken the spirit of American patriotism.
Thank you. Esteemed leading knight, what is the significance of the American flag?
It is emblematic of the crowning virtue, charity.
Esteemed loyal knight, what is the significance of the American flag?
It is emblematic of justice for all.
Esteemed lecturing knight, what is the significance of the American flag?
It is a symbol of brotherly love.
Lodge Esquire, what is the significance of the American flag from the station of the exalted ruler?
It is the symbol of fidelity.
Charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity are the cardinal principles of our order and are exemplified in our services. By them we teach not only the love of our country, but for our countrymen and loyalty to the Americans and our way of life. To be an elk is to be an American citizen who lives in this country and is ready to die for it. Please stand. The chaplain will lead us in prayer.
Almighty God, in this hour of patriotic observance of the birthday of the American flag, we ask you to bless our flag and the people people of these United States. For all that our flag represents, both at home and abroad, we thank thee, and through all our history as a nation, it has been an instant of freedom, liberty, and opportunity. And through the years to come, may this flag wave as the banner of liberty, freedom, and enlightenment. May this service bring to each of us a sense of loyalty to our country and enable us to be better patriots, truer citizens, and more loyal Americans. To thy glory and to the honor of this great nation. Amen.
Please be seated. That we may better understand the meaning of our flag, I call upon myself to read the history of the flag. Mr. Bland was not able to attend this afternoon. A coat of arms is as old as the human race. The carrying of banners has been a custom among people of all ages. These banners usually contain some concept of life or government, or for those in fashion of them. The evolution of the American flag marks the progression of the government of the American people. From the landing of the Pilgrims in 1620 until 1775, the flag of England was the flag of the people of America. In 1775, the pine tree flag was adopted by our colonial vessels, and this banner carried by our continental forces in the Battle of Bunker Hill. We now enter the pine tree flag. The southern colonies from 1776 to 1777 used the snake flag. Enter the snake flag. In the latter part of 1775, the Continental Congress appointed a committee to consider the question of a single flag for 13 colonies. The committee recommended a design of the 13 alternating stripes, red and white, with an azure field in the upper corner bearing the cross, the red cross of St. George and the white cross of St. Andrew. The John Paul Jones, the senior lieutenant of the flagship Alfred, hoisted this flag on the masthead on December 3rd, 1775. 1 month later, it was raised over the headquarters of General Washington at Cambridge, Massachusetts, in compliment, as he wrote, to the United Colonies. Enter the flag. This flag, called the Continental Colors and the Grand Union, was never carried in field by the Continental Land Forces, but it was used by the Navy in its inclusive design and was the first American flag to receive a salute of honor, a salute of 11 guns from the Fort of Orange in the Dutch West Indies. In response to a general demand for a banner more representative of our country, the Congress on June 14, 1777 provided that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes of alternating red and white, and that the union of 13 stars, white on a blue field, represent the new constellation. Enter the flag. It is generally believed that in May or June of 1776, a committee consisting of George Washington, Robert Morris, and George Ross commissioned Betsy Ross, a Quaker from Philadelphia, to make a flag from a rough design they had left her. It is said she suggested that the star should have 5 points rather than 6. The starry banner was first flown at Fort Stanwyck, called Fort Schuyler at that time, near the city of Rome in New York, on August 3rd, 1777, and was under fire 3 days later in the Battle of Bernisky, August 6th, 1777, during a British and Indian attack. The first official salute to the Stars and Stripes was given on February 14th, 1778, by France on the French coast, when the Ranger, under command of John Paul Jones, was saluted by the French fleet. This flag was carried by the Ranger, which was made by young women of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, from the stripes of their best colored silk dresses and the whites from wedding gowns of a recent bride. It is said that the same Ranger's flag was flown on Jones's ship, the Bonhomme Richard, and it is thrilling fight by moonlight under the high seas. The immortal fame of John Paul Jones was ensured an intrepid defending of the youthful republic. The original 13 Stars and Stripes represented the original 13 colonies. In 1795, 2 additional Stars and Stripes were added to represent the admission of Vermont and Kentucky to our Union. Under the banner of 15 Stars and Stripes was fought the War of 1812. It was the site of flying over the Fort McHenry on September 14, 1814, that inspired Francis Scott Key to write what has now become our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Miss Margaret Young, who cut the stars for this particular banner, was the mother of Henry Satterson, the Grand Exalted Ruler of the Order of the Elks in 1884. Please enter 15 and 15. The Congress on April 14, 1818 adopted a resolution that on or after July 4th of 1818, the number of stripes should be 13, and that the blue field should carry 1 star for each of the 20 states in the Union, and that a new star shall be added as each state thereafter is admitted. Since 1818, there were no changes to the flag design, except for 28 stars were added before July 4th, 1912, and that the flag of 48 stars flew over this nation for 47 years, up until the Vietnam War. On July 4th, 1959, a star was added for Alaska. And for our first non-connected state, a year later, Hawaii, our island state, added the 50th star, our present flag. It is now accompanied by the POW MIA flag to recognize the plight and demise of special group of armed forces, armed services that were prisoners of war or still remain missing in action. Please stand and salute our flag. As this emblem is first in our hearts as loyal Americans, so it is close to our altar as loyal Elks. The gentle breezes that with lingering caresses kiss the folds of no flag which can compare with her beauty. There is no such red in budding rose, in falling leaf or sparkling wine. No such white in April blossom, crescent moon, or mountain snow. and no such blue in woman's eye in ocean's depths or heaven's dome, and no such pageantry of clustering stars and streaming light in all the spectrum of sea and sky. You may be seated. We will now hear Mrs. Kirsten Kaufman sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the lights from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
We will now hear a reading from Angela Hurd.
The Stars and Stripes, flag of the United States of America, the worldwide hope of all who, under God, would be free to live and do his will. Upon its folds is written the story of America, the epic of the mightiest and noblest of all history. In the days when peoples of the old world groveled in abject homage to the heresy of the divine right of kings, a new constellation appeared in the western skies, the Stars and Stripes, symbolizing the divine right of all to life, liberty, happiness, and peace under endowment by their Creator. To what man or woman is given words adequate to tell the story of the building of this nation? That immortal story is written in blood and sweat, in heroic deeds and unremitting toil, in clearing the primeval forests and the planting of vast prairies where once the coyote and buffalo roamed. Onward swept the nation, spanning wide rivers, leaping vast mountain ranges, and leaving in its path villages and farms, factories and cities, till at last this giant nation stood astride the continent from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This is the heritage of the people of the United States. It has been repurchased by each succeeding generation and must be re-won again, again, and again, until the end of time, lest it too shall pass like the ancient empires of Greece and Rome. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. What was won at Lexington and Concord and Bunker Hill had to be repurchased at Ticonderoga and Yorktown. What John Paul Jones achieved upon the high seas in the War of Independence had to be repurchased by Commodore Perry on Lake Erie in the War of 1812. The prestige of Admiral Dewey's victory at Manila Bay in 1898 was re-won by the naval battles in the seas about the far distant islands of the Pacific after the sneak attacks upon Pearl Harbor and Manila in 1941 had summoned our country to assume its role in World War II. What our troops achieved under the Stars and Stripes at Chateau Thierry and Flanders in World War I, their sons were required to repurchase in World War II in the bloody trek across northern Africa, on the beachheads of Europe, and in the Battle of the Bulge. The flag our American men raised at Iwo Jima was the same flag later raised in the defense of Incheon, Busan, and Porkchop Hill in far-off Korea. Then another generation under the same flag bled to stem the threat of communism in far-off Vietnam. Our young people were again called to carry our flag in the defense of a free world in the actions of Grenada and Panama. Willingly, our brave men and women carried our flag and the honor of the American people into battle in Operation Desert Storm. And who among us will ever forget the sight of firefighters raising our flag over the ruins of the World Trade Center, the military personnel draping our flag on the side of the Pentagon, or the citizens of Somerset County, Pennsylvania, placing our flag near the site where brave Americans died fighting the hijackers of flight number 93. No other symbol could have offered such comfort as we still, today, endure the horrors of that time. Today, American armed forces carry our flag in the villages of Iraq, the mountains of Afghanistan, and the jungles of the Philippines, wherever terrorism may reside. Their struggle against the sponsors of terrorism is the hardest battle yet. And this threat to our nation and to our way of life is certainly as great a challenge as our flag has ever seen. The resurgence of patriotism since September 11th has rekindled respect for our flag. Today, we see the Star-Spangled Banner wherever we turn, on homes, businesses, automobiles, and billboards. Such displays stimulate our love for our nation and for what it stands. They remind us of the sacrifices being made by the men and women of our armed forces around the world, and they are a tribute to the heroes of the police and fire departments the nation over. The greatest significance of this flag, however, lies in the influence it has in hearts and minds of millions of people. It has waved over unparalleled progress of the nation in developing democratic institutions, scientific and technological knowledge, education, and culture. It has served as a beacon for millions of poor and oppressed refugees abroad and stands as a promise that the underprivileged will not be forgotten. What is the meaning of the flag of the United States? There can never be a definitive answer to that question. There are people in this world who see it as a symbol of imperialism. Others see it as the destiny of the people. But reference to these and similar views of the flag was resolved by Woodrow Wilson when he said, "This flag, which we honor and under which we serve, is the emblem of our unity, our power, our thought, and shape of this nation. It has no other character than that which we give it from generation to generation. The choices are ours. Only love, true love of our fellow man, can create peace. The emblem and token of that love is the stars and stripes, the symbol of the American way of life. Our fathers, God, to the author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God our King."
Lodge Esquire, how shall we further honor our flag?
The flag is formally honored by the Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge was written in 1892 by Francis Bellamy and published in the Youth's Companion as part of the patriotic campaign of the magazine. The pledge did not become part of the flag code until 1942, and in 1954 the phrase "under God" was added.
Let us all stand and pledge ourselves never to forget the principles represented by this, our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. I would now like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Austin Carr.
evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out today to honor this symbol of just everything that we have going on here. I apologize if I get a little choked up. This thing means a lot to me. Sorry. It already happened with the God Bless America. Every time I hear that song, which you did a fantastic job, I get a little teary-eyed, chills go down my spine. I'm so blessed to have had the opportunity to be born in this great nation. But let's talk about flags, right? The significance of flags have been around since 2400 BC, right? They represent different things. You've got the banners for the clans back in the day. You've got the pirates in the seas, and all the pirates had their own banners, their own flags. My days in the Boy Scouts, I had my Troop 76 flag, my Shark Patrol flag. Flags represent so much, and we can't forget about the flags that are around me, the POW flag, just to represent and just so we never forget. And one of my favorites is the rattlesnake, Don't Tread on Me, because that represents us. That represents Americans. We give you a warning, but we strike fast. Don't mess with us. Don't mess with that. That's what I love about that flag. And just growing up with the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance that we did, saying it every single day, it brings you hope. It brings everything else. For those of you that don't know me or know my story, I am a teacher here at Defiance. I teach high school intervention specialist, but I'm also a member of the Air National Guard. I've been a member since 2013. I've had 2 deployments where I spent 6 months in Qatar. Was my first experience being away, being in a different country. First experience of the heat. And then just recently, a couple years ago, I had my other deployment to Afghanistan. It was very interesting. I was over here talking, and I met a gentleman that built up all of the bases in Afghanistan, and I was one that tore down all of the bases in Afghanistan. I was part of the crew that was out there bringing home refugees. I shut down a couple bases, and we were just talking about a few of them, which was very fun and interesting. But that experience in Kabul, that was a NATO base. And it was very interesting. So the way NATO bases work is they have every single nation's flag hanging. And there's a big ceremony when that nation leaves. And I was there from a couple months before everything started going down, and I was last 24 hours leaving. And to see all of the flags go down, every day a different flag. Greece flag went down. Every single day somebody else's flag was going down. But Old Glory was standing strong. Old Glory stayed right there till the end. Old Glory is a sign of hope to so many people. One of the coolest stories, I had a little girl come up to me and she said, "I know you'll never see this or I'll never see this, but take a video of me as I get on the plane, just so I know somebody has it." I still have the video on my phone. It's just amazing. And what people don't know is, at the front of every plane, there's a flag hanging right there. So you got the image of a young Afghanistan girl fleeing her home and her country, going towards the American flag. Because that's what this represents. This is hope. Right now, not everybody believes that. In our own nation, not everybody sees it as hope. But I can promise you, there is people out there that need it that need us, that need this flag. This flag represents so much more. If you just think about everything that this flag uses, its symbolism, its sense of pride, it's the sense it's used to drape over caskets as people are getting sent home. It is folded up and given to loved ones. It is something to lean on. It's just, some people see it as cloth, but it's not just cloth. Okay, it has those meanings, it has those special meanings. It has everybody that's ever been in this nation, that's ever fought for this nation, who's ever been a police officer, a firefighter, a first responder. It has their spirit and their power behind them every single time that you see it. If you notice, different times, the way that the flag is represented. If you see on the sleeves of our VFW members over here, some people say, oh, why is the flag backwards? It's not. It's charging into battle. That's what that is. It's got the stripes behind the stars because it's charging into battle. That's what this represents. We're one of the very first few nations to really fight for their freedom. And that's what this is. We are the hope for the world. We are the ones that keep going forward, and that's what this flag represents. Every single time I would feel a little down and out, or I'd be missing home, right there was that flag. This flag represents home to me. This flag means everything. This is why we do things. This is why we're here today on a special day to represent this nation on this birth of this flag, because it means something to a lot of people out there. So I'm very thankful that you guys are here today to help represent this and honor this flag and honor this great nation. Thank you.
Officer of the day. In conclusion of the observance of Flag Day, let us rededicate ourselves to this, our flag of the United States of America. And may the principles of charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity ever increase us and all. I now declare this service closed.